Would you confront your sibling for ruining your life? I never thought I'd get to the point where I considered my own sibling a threat to everything I worked for. But here I was standing in the middle of my small, messy apartment, staring at a stack of bills that had suddenly doubled, wondering how I had gone from having a life I could manage to feeling like I was drowning in chaos I didn't create. And it all started with what I thought was a harmless favor, the kind of thing I would normally do without thinking, because for years I had been the responsible one, the person everyone turned to when things went wrong, the sibling who quietly cleaned up messes while the other one chased dreams without consequence. And I didn't even question it until the day I discovered they had used my information to get credit cards, to apply for loans, to co-sign for things I didn't know about. And suddenly the credit agencies were calling me, the bank was sending letters addressed to me, and I realized that my life had been hijacked while I trusted them to act responsibly. And when I confronted them, the calm facade I'd always admired vanished, replaced with excuses, gaslighting, and a casual shrug that made my stomach drop because they treated it like a minor inconvenience instead of the disaster it was. And I remember standing in the living room, voice shaking, trying to make them understand that their actions weren't just mistakes. They were betrayals, each one chipping away at my security, my trust, my sense of safety, and they laughed. A short, dismissive laugh and said, "Relax, it's not that bad, you'll figure it out, you always do." And I realized I wasn't dealing with regret or apology. I was dealing with a person incapable of seeing the consequences of their own actions. And in that moment, something inside me shifted, because I could either keep letting them trample over me or finally take control. And so I spent the next few days digging through every document, every statement, every loan, tracing their mess back to them, documenting it meticulously so that there was no room for denial. And the more I uncovered, the more furious I became, because it wasn't just money. It was betrayal layered with arrogance, the kind that makes you question how someone could care so little about the life of the person who had always stood by them. And I started calling people in the background, lawyers, credit counselors, anyone who could help me untangle the web they had spun. All the while my sibling still acting like the innocent one, claiming ignorance, pretending that I was overreacting. And I began drafting emails that I didn't know if I would send, long, carefully worded letters that outlined every single instance of manipulation and misuse of my identity, every lie, every omission, until I realized that what I really wanted wasn't revenge. It was acknowledgement, accountability, the rare feeling of having someone truly understand the chaos they caused. And then came the evening when I finally confronted them, with the compiled evidence, laying it all on the table in one long, unbroken explanation, watching as their smug confidence crumbled, seeing the pale shock of someone realizing they couldn't talk their way out of this time. And I felt a rush of something I hadn't felt in years. Power, clarity, the strange satisfaction of being finally seen not as the responsible one who fixes everything but as a person who deserves respect, boundaries, and fairness. And when they tried to justify themselves, saying things like, "I didn't mean for it to go this far," or "It's not my fault, you're too sensitive," I didn't argue, I didn't explain further, I just handed over the compiled statements to the bank, to the authorities, and made sure that the responsibility for untangling the mess was no longer mine to carry alone. And the weeks that followed were tense, filled with phone calls, meetings, and awkward encounters with family members who tried to convince me to forgive, to move on, to let it slide as family stuff. But I had learned something crucial. Forgiveness without accountability isn't liberation, it's enabling, and I refused to give them that, even if it meant family dinners became strained, even if it meant hearing the disappointed sighs of relatives who couldn't understand why I wouldn't just let it go. And in the quiet moments when I sat alone in my apartment paying my bills on time, slowly rebuilding what had been threatened, I realized that confrontation wasn't about winning, it wasn't about revenge, it was about reclaiming my life, my safety, my trust in my own judgment. And even though my siblings still tried to charm their way back into my confidence, I could see the hesitation, the awareness that I had changed, that I would no longer be the easy target for entitlement and recklessness, and that knowledge gave me a calm satisfaction that no apology or explanation could have, because I finally understood the truth about family, about loyalty, about boundaries, and most importantly, about myself. That standing up, drawing a line, and refusing to be victimized, even by someone who shares your blood, is the only way to protect your life, your mind, and your heart. And as I watch my siblings slowly realize the consequences of their choices, I feel a mixture of sorrow and relief, because I grieve the family I thought I had, but I celebrate the person I've become, the one who can survive betrayal, assert control, and know without doubt that being right about yourself is worth more than the comfort of anyone else's approval.